Chapter 14. Missing Instruments. Each of the instruments in the band's sizable supply warehouse was an expensive instrument. For some bizarre Army logic, they did not skimp when they bought the original equipment, and they purchased enough instruments for more than 100-piece symphonic concert band. Tubas and bassoons that were never played, extra timpani, a huge expense. I'm sure Mr. Amy sold the original concept of that $1 million expense to military headquarters in the early 60s, back when Mr. Amy was sober. His pitch was that his band could be a great promotional tool for the Army. So Mr. Amy was sitting on a $1 million inventory, which in the 60s was a really big pile of money. The trumpet I was issued is the one I would march with on the street, and also would play the annual Harrisburg Horse Show. Whoever decided that the Army band should perform the Harrisburg Horse Show was a real idiot. The band would march on the soft dirt of the stadium, a real trip hazard. The acoustics of the hall were totally dead. The audience were all equestrian people, and were probably baffled about why an Army band was there at all. We would sit on the wooden bleachers and play some marches in between equestrian acts. Then at halftime, while everyone left to get a hot dog, we would congregate down on the floor and then march out onto the soft dirt floor arena. We would perform some simple maneuvers and try not to run into the walls. The band never sounded worse than when we were marching at the Harrisburg Horse Show, and that was really saying something. Before halftime, I had just enough time to get to the bathroom before we marched out onto the floor. When I returned from the bathroom, it was just in the nick of time. I heard, "Quick, grab your horn!" and a twittering of laughter. The band was already filing out, so I hurriedly grabbed my trumpet. As a joke, some of the guys had nailed my trumpet to the bleachers. When I grabbed it, I pulled really hard. The 8-penny nail they had pounded in put a sizable dent between the first and the second valves on that Army horn. So 2 of the 3 valves were unusable. I played that 20-minute marching set with just the 3rd valve. As anyone knows, the trumpet knows, you can't make many notes with just the 3rd valve unless you're in just exactly the right key. And none of those pieces were in that key. Only the trumpet section got the joke. I played about every 4th or 5th note. We laughed about that day for a long time. When Mr. Amy finally retired, whoever was above him in the chain of command came in and did an inventory on all the band's instruments. It was Mr. Amy's responsibility, after all. He had signed for them when he started the band, and he had to sign for them when he left. Much to Mr. Amy's chagrin, the inventory discovered that most of the valuable instruments in storage had been replaced by cheap junk instruments from a sleazy pawn shop in Baltimore. We didn't know who, but someone in the band had been making a small fortune by regularly exchanging very expensive instruments for junk. Over time, all the valuable instruments had been exchanged. We never found out what happened to Mr. Amy because of that, but we were childishly delighted in knowing that he would have been tormented. He ran a very loose ship.